Thank you everyone for being part of Global Morning. It's now time for us to get into the second conversation as we look at the Nigerian Foreign Ministry and want to look at the activities of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which has done so much. You know, most times a lot of people don't know what's going on. They just see information. Oh, the Foreign Affairs is doing great, is doing great. We have some persons behind all of that effort who bridge the gap between the Nigerians and, of course, the ministry. Today, we have the spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs right here in the studio, who is going to be talking to us about the activities of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in the person of Kimebi Imomotimi Ibiefa. It's good to have you join us on Global Morning today.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Thank you for being a part of the program. Good morning. Thank you for coming on board.
Well, we're excited to have you. You've been doing so much. You know, I've been following your antecedents. I've been part of it in several ways. Now, what are the major activities of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs before we get into the ones that we know, the recent evacuation and all of that?
Thank you very much. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs is involved in a lot of activities. In headquarters, where we have our ministers, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Her Excellency Bianca Odumegwu-Ojukwu, and the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, His Excellency Ambassador Shola Enikolaye, providing leadership and guidance in headquarters. We are involved in a lot of activities in formulating government policies as relating to foreign policy interests of the country. We help to coordinate, facilitate official visits into the country. We help to provide guidance for Nigerian delegations that are traveling abroad for different high-level activities. We help coordinate Nigerian position when it comes to attending high-level events outside the country, or subscribing to international conventions where Nigeria is part for statutory meetings such as the ECOWAS Summit, African Union Summit, United Nations General Assembly. We help to coordinate Nigerian position for all these meetings. As you are also aware, outside the country, Nigeria has 109 diplomatic missions. Out of the 109, 12 of them are consulates. Consulates are diplomatic missions established in major cities outside the capital city. But for embassies, we have currently full-blown ambassadors that have been accredited. I think if you are monitoring our activities, you'll be seeing a presentation of letters of credence by our ambassadors that have arrived at their various missions. So in the next few weeks or days or months, you have more active engagement from our missions because they have full-fledged ambassadors that are carrying out representational duties as instructed by Mr. President. So you have more of engagement relating to attracting foreign direct investment into the country, articulating Nigerian positions in forums that matters, as the case may be. So we're involved in a lot of activities, providing consular support to Nigerians that are living outside the country, visiting them in prisons, providing assistance for those that are in need. You have in some countries where Nigerians, especially under the Japa syndrome, might have left the country but arrive their destination but discover that they are even better off in Nigeria. So in those situations too, the embassies or the consulates, as the case may be, step in to provide necessary support for them, sometimes help to bring them back to the country, to reunite them with their families. So we are involved in a lot of activities.
Well, while you were speaking, I was wondering, well, this is so much for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This is so much. Oh, all right, let's go back to the recent one that just happened, this xenophobic attack in South Africa. I have been following you, how you've been updating Nigerians from the beginning, the movement of the flight, when they'll be arriving in Nigeria, apart from other things that you are coordinating as the spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Can you tell us about the evacuation, how they were evacuated and how those people are doing right now?
We received disturbing reports from our missions. We have two missions in Pretoria, in South Africa. We have the Nigerian High Commission in Pretoria and also the Consulate General of Nigeria in Johannesburg. So we started receiving reports from them, I think around April, about tension in the country, killings of Nigerians by police via either gruesome torturing methods, as the case may be. Then ultimatum given by two major groups in the country, March for March and Operation Dudula, calling on foreign nationals in the country to leave before the 30th of June. So there was tension, so our nationals reported to various community leaders and besides also the missions asking for voluntary repatriation or evacuation back to the country. So as Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we called for an interministerial meeting for all stakeholders that will be involved if we are carrying out evacuation, for us to be on the same page before we present our position to Mr. President. And that was done. So with the meeting, we involved the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, National Refugee Commission, NIDCOM, that is Nigerian Diaspora Commission, Port Authority, that is in charge of health-related matters, either at the airport or the seaports, also NAPTIP, the security agencies from the police, the NSA office, so all those groups that will have a role to play. Federal Airport Authority, all of us, we had an interministerial meeting, then we tried to estimate how many will be willing to come back to the country, made our projections, then presented a report to Mr. President. And Mr. President graciously approved 5 evacuation flights. The first one was paid for, and we executed that. While that was going on, we instructed our missions to continue to start the process of registration. So the registered Nigerians that were not comfortable to continuously living in South Africa, and the registered with the missions. The missions had a committee, met with the relevant South African authorities to clear those that have indicated interest to return back to the country. So we got the approved number, then approached the airpeace that have been very patriotic in terms of evacuating Nigerians from trouble spots in the world. I could remember in 2019, I was privileged to lead the ministry delegation to South Africa to evacuate our nationals when there was similar xenophobic attacks against foreigners. And so we contracted them for the process, and we operated 5 evacuation flights, and intermittently I think there were 2 other groups that came to the country, not via airpeace. One was a group of 66 nationals that after the execution of the first flight, they left their accommodation and they were quartered in the High Commission in Pretoria while we were waiting for logistics to clear for the second flight. So a good-spirited Nigerian, I think the owner of Max Air, decided to pay for 66 tickets for those Nigerians to return to the country. And after that, I think before the last evacuation flight, there was also a hiccup as regard operating, I think the 4th flight or so, where the aircraft deployed by airpeace got into, arrived Johannesburg, but has a problem on its way to Johannesburg. I think the windscreen has some cracks, so they call it imploded. It was imploded, so that's I think the technical term of having cracks in the windscreen. So airpeace decided to procure I think 39 tickets for some Nigerians that followed the next flight, but they were supposed to have been the flight they deployed was bigger, but because it sent a smaller one, those that were a bit stranded were paid for by airpeace to return to the country. In summary, I think we evacuated 1,490 Nigerians from South Africa. And of that number, on arrival, they went through documentation. After documentation, they were profiled. We have cases of some Nigerians that left their educational pursuit in South Africa to return to the country. So in that situation, the Federal Ministry of Education is sourcing for relevant and equivalent educational institutions for them to continue their studies in Nigeria. We did that when we evacuated our nationals with the outbreak of the war in Sudan, whereby our nationals that were schooling in that particular country were placed in relevant and commensurate universities in Nigeria. So it will not be a burden to the parents, but the federal government took that opportunity facilitated by the ministry and all other agencies involved to do that for our nationals. Then I think they were provided with stipends, but I won't want to mention the amount that was given to them. But want to use this medium to appreciate state government like Imo State that gave 1 million naira to all Imolites that returned from South Africa for them to start a new way of life in Nigeria. Then the National Refugee Commission is actively involved in providing vocational trainings for those that will need them, so that they can have at least something doing to sustain themselves in the country. For those that have been exposed to abuses or maybe trafficked to South Africa, as the case may be, NAPTIP is actively involved to providing counseling for them, to provide a psychological balance for them before they continue their livelihood in the country. So a lot is still going on. Some that will need medical attention. I think the Port Authority is actively involved in that. So we are working actively to make sure that they are fully reunited with their families and have a base to start a sustainable livelihood in the country.
Fantastic. For as much as all of these supports have been done when it comes to all hands being on deck, everyone being responsive when it comes to evacuation of Nigerians from South Africa to Nigeria. Of course, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will face some challenges. What are the challenges in which you face in all of this, bringing all of this into limelight?
In terms of challenges, we have the capacity to, I would say funding, but funding to, carrying out evacuation is extra, it's not something that is embedded in the budget. So you have to approach Mr. President to get approval for supplementary funds for you to execute tasks like this. So I think that was the only constraint that we had. If we have all the money in our account, definitely the evacuation will have been concluded within a week. But I think we spent 3 weeks to complete the process. And again, providing succor for those that you might find is not the basic responsibility of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. As far as they have arrived in Nigeria, it is different MDAs that are responsible for different tasks. So for us as a ministry, I think I also believe that our missions in Pretoria and Johannesburg might have incurred a lot of expenses in providing sleeping materials, food, water, and other basic necessities that they would need, especially for the population that left their accommodation because of tension and just moved to the High Commission, pending when they will be evacuated to Nigeria. So there might be some expenses in that regard, but it's all same government, so they will have a way of balancing their accounts to make sure everybody is in a happy mood.
Just a follow-up question. How about some Nigerians who have refused to come back home, who feel that it's better to remain in South Africa and face whatever it is than to come back home to practically nothing? Because some have actually sold everything they had here in Nigeria. What's your take on that, and how do you try to balance it, encourage them or advise them to come home in order for their lives to be saved?
There are two categories of Nigerians that return to the country. There is this category that we are living in South Africa legally. They have all the right documentations to live in the country, to make ends meet, to operate businesses as the case may be. But because of the tension in the country, been exposed to abuses, derogatory remarks, as the case may be, they opted to return to Nigeria, at least to save their lives. So that is that category. There is also the other category that we are living in South Africa illegally, in the sense that they travel to South Africa, maybe some travel to South Africa with tourist visas, and they want to change it to a work visa, securing a work permit to be living there legally. Some do have complained that they have all the necessary paperwork to file for documentation, but they were strategically or systematically refused by South African authorities to be documented. So they now constitute what they call the undocumented or illegal immigrants in the country. Now, for those that were living legally, if your source of livelihood, your security is not guaranteed, it's better for you to return to the country. But as you rightly said, there are some that will say that, okay, I don't want to come back to Nigeria to fall back to nothing. No matter what happens, we'll stay there. All what you tell them or advise them is to be law abiding. Try not to be against the law, but be conscious of their security. Because if, in terms of killings in the country that we witnessed, 4 from April to date, especially for out of the 4, I think 1 died in a police station after being tortured by the police, while the 2 died while in police custody because they were exposed to very gruesome torturing techniques. And 1, I think the most popular during the protest, that was killed by unknown persons in front of his shop. So those were the 4 deaths that we experienced from April to date. The Nigerian government have taken it up with the South African authorities, calling for autopsy, calling for the arrest of especially a famous or notorious police station, if I will use the word, that has been identified as carrying out those extrajudicial killing against Nigerians. So petition the South African government to make sure they bring those officers to book. So for those that are not returning, we only tell them to be advise them to be law abiding and make sure that they don't find themselves in difficult situations. There are also Nigerians living in South Africa that they have no business with the protest. They have no business to be scared because where they are living is not being threatened, because the protests are basically limited to, will I say, low, middle income or low income earners populated areas. But the eyebrow areas where we have some of our medical doctors, professors that are involved in various South African educational institutions, they are safe and there is no complaint about that. We have a large number of Nigerian population in South Africa, and it's just not majority of Nigerians in South Africa that clamor to return to the country. So we still have our people there contributing to the economy, contributing to the educational system, and contributing to the development of the South African state.
All right, you just said something very vital. I was about to asking about it before you brought it up now, the issue of the professionals who are seriously contributing to the economy of South Africa. We are not part of those that face this xenophobic attack. Now, what would be your advice to Nigerians? Because the reason why I'm asking this question is, during your introduction, you talked about people that were imprisoned abroad, people that had issues, how the ministry take care of such problems, run to their aids and all of that. What would be your advice, all right, to Nigerians who would want to leave this country, whether skilled or not skilled, professional or not professional? Like you said, some persons just want to leave, the Jackpot syndrome of a thing. So what would be your advice to all Nigerians now?
Always seek for the right information before leaving the country. Let me tell you my personal experience. I've served in our mission in Angola. I've served in our mission in Doha, Qatar. Especially for Doha, Qatar, we have this trend of Nigerians leaving the country. Before the World Cup, there were a lot of construction jobs in Qatar because of the World Cup, either for stadiums, for hotels, as the case may be. So Nigerians will subscribe to travel to the country. And some they were promised that if you arrive the airport, from the airport you'll be recruited, they will give you accommodation for you to start start working in the country. But some of these countries have very strong immigration policies, whereby if you arrive the country with a tourist visa, you can't convert it to a work permit or a work visa. But with the pressure to leave the country and making ends meet outside the country, having this belief that everywhere outside Nigeria is better than Nigeria, some Nigerians unfortunately are scammed by agents, and they arrive those countries and there is no job for them to do. And in some cases, the job that is promised them, when they get to the country, they will discover there is something totally different that they will be forced to do. That is how our nationals are forced to be working in farms. Some ladies are forced into prostitution, and most of the perpetrators will seize their phones, or sometimes deliberately, or sometimes as if it's a mistake, they would crash their phones, give them new SIMs. So if you don't even have your family members' contacts off and off there, it will be difficult for you to even to communicate with your people. So the right information that anyone leaving the country should seek for is to first approach the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I've been offered a job in this particular company. The ministry has the capacity to liaise with our mission in that particular country to find out details about who is interested in recruiting you. If you have a recruitment, I've had cases as the spokesperson of Ministry of Foreign Affairs, whereby people will send messages to the ministry, even send me a copy of the employment letter. I want to make our investigation. We'll discover that the phone numbers, the address, everything is fake. So if you are getting the right information before leaving the country, you won't fall victim to this particular situation. Fine, we have a teeming youthful population, and we have the problem of unemployment in the country. We can't deny that, but we should be conscious of what offers we accept to go outside the country. Even in fellow African countries, we have a lot of cases whereby the ministries, through our missions, have discovered Nigerians living in prison-like conditions and being forced to do yahoo, being forced to do prostitution, where they can't even see the sunlight. They are locked up in various accommodations in deteriorating conditions or unpalatable conditions, and being forced to make money for their so-called masters. There are some that we're investigating, there are some that we've investigated, and some persons have been imprisoned, so the case may be. But the basic thing that anyone needs to do is to get the right information before leaving. Also, I would like to, my generation of diplomats in the ministry were also of the view that government should take it a bit more serious, whereby even if a Nigerian has the flight ticket to leave the country, at the point of departure, we must ascertain that the person has something reasonable to do before allowing him to leave the country. That is the policy some African countries have implemented. And I know if we try to introduce that, there will be outrage from the public that I have my flight ticket, you are not the one procuring ticket for me, why are you stopping me from leaving? But to allow you to leave, to go and be in a difficult situation that your life will be even far, far less difficult than what you experience in Nigeria, I think it will be good for them to be stopped at the airport. As far away as Thailand, Myanmar, Indonesia, we have Nigerians living in the interiors, not just the cities, but in very remote areas whereby communication to them too is difficult. We have cases of Nigerians that are trafficked from this country, either through land borders or through the airport. Then their organs are vested for donations to other persons in different parts of the world. So we really need to work more seriously in addressing the issue of our youths leaving the country.
This is I don't know, there's a way I was feeling when you were explaining this. One thing that has excited me so much about this is that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has made it an open ticket for people to, through the ministry, check facts, check wherever it is they are going to this job or whatever. Now, with what happened in South Africa now, how has it affected the relationship between Nigeria and, of course, South Africa? the House of Assembly, the Senate have been making proposals. I could remember what Oshomole was saying about their establishment. Senator Adams Oshomole was saying about their establishments, their businesses in Nigeria, what other persons have been proposing. How has all of this drama affected the relationship between Nigeria and, of course, South Africa?
We are still talking to each other, find there is pressure from our national that Nigeria should take up or implement more drastic measures against South Africa, considering the fact that we contributed a lot towards the liberation struggle in South Africa. It's on record that Nigeria has spent over $63 billion to support the fight against apartheid. It is on record that we provided our passports to South African nationals, diplomatic passports, normal passports for them to move freely while fighting against apartheid. Their nationals were giving scholarships to school in Nigeria. I have senior colleagues in the ministry that had fond memories of from the secondary school days. They have hostels that were meant for South Africa. In fact, from the secondary schools to the university, Nigerians will testify that the living condition of the South Africans was even better. Their hostels were more equipped than the hostels of Nigeria, just because we want to give them that sense of belonging, that just because we want to show leadership in Africa, to make sure that Africa is united, to make sure that we fight against decolonization and unity in the continent. So now, coming to 2026, and the same South Africans will be telling Nigerians to leave is not acceptable. We are seriously against that. In fact, there are, I would say, very, very unprofessional or reasonable comment by some of the protest leaders in South Africa that will say on national television that Nigeria gave the money to Mandela, Mandela is dead, or you can go and meet Mandela family to take back your money, as the case may be. So you don't see very serious condemnation of those acts by the government of South Africa. We have excellent relations in terms of bilateral engagement before this unfortunate development. It doesn't mean that we stop talking to each other, but we are, as the giant of Africa, no matter how you look at it, we remain the giant of Africa. There is no denying fact about that. We are committed in uniting the African continent. We are committed in promoting sustainable development in the continent. So we will not toe the path of violence with South Africa, but that does not mean that, as we stated in our previous, some of our statement, that we don't have the options. We have all options on the table. If the situation deteriorates to a level whereby we have to activate more drastic reciprocal action, definitely will activate that. But for now, we are doing the part of dialogue. We want to continue talking to each other. In the just concluded ECOWAS summit in Freetown, Sierra Leone, I was opportune to be there. Nigeria raised the issue together with Ghana that in the next African Union summit, the issue of xenophobic attacks or Afrophobia against, especially against West African nationals that were living in the country, should be tabled for discussion. It was adopted, and before I even came into this media engagement, my colleague from Ghana shared a document that was released, I think yesterday or this morning, from the South African equivalent of Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It's called the Ministry of International Relations and Cooperation, DERCO, Department of International Relations and Cooperation. They've issued a statement acknowledging the position of ECOWAS, and they are ready to dialogue with ECOWAS to make sure that the issue is peacefully resolved. So we are confident that through dialogue and diplomatic channels, we'll be able to address all these issues. And as you are also aware, Nigeria is pressing for compensation for our nationals that have left their genuinely legally operating businesses in South Africa that they've abandoned to return to the country. The High Commission is documenting that, and at the right time we'll place it before the South African authorities to press for compensation.
All right, still on compensation, I know it's a lot, but is it possible that most Nigerians that have acquired assets, those that own big supermarkets, those that have houses, what is going to happen to all of their investments or assets if this compensation is not met?
we strongly believe that there will be a way forward as regards the compensation, because if someone is living illegally, no matter what the person has acquired, it will be termed as illegal. But if someone is living legally, paying taxes, and have a legally established government-approved business, and because of the tension, you have frustrated the person to leave the country, you have to compensate. That is the position of the Nigerian government, and we strongly believe that to drive it to the logical conclusion. Because South African businesses are thriving very well in Nigeria without any molestation, without any harassment.
True.
So if Nigerian businesses cannot operate freely in South Africa, then there is a problem. So that is the position of the government. That same way South African businesses are operating freely and making millions of dollars or naira as profit. That is what we want for Nigerian businesses in South Africa too. So if that is not the case, then we will have a serious rethink about our engagement.
Just a quick follow-up. Well, some people will say that how can there be a proper follow-up if the individuals concerned are not present in that country?
No, they've documented that's why we instructed the missions to document their properties and investments, everything that has to do with their economic engagement in the country. They document, and they are submitting that document with the mission. So it's based on those documents that will now engage the South African authorities.
Okay, fantastic.
All right. Well, I want to say a very big thank you to you for joining us today. So many questions to ask, but then our time is not so friendly right now. I wish I could just turn back the hands of time small, even if it is 30 minutes, but then we can't do that right now because I was curious. I really want to look at how our Nigerian citizens faring in other countries in case this kind of things happen again. Has anything been put in place and all of that? Then check the activities of our ambassadors, how they are doing, been seen letters of credence, submission and all of that, how the feedback has been. But then we don't have all the time now. We may do that much later. It has been a very wonderful time with the spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I want to say a very big thank you for joining us on the conversation today, Kemebi Imomotimi Ibiefa. Thanks for coming to the studio to be part of this conversation, and thank you for everything you are doing for Nigerians as it has to do with bridging the gap between the ministry and the Nigerian people. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you very much for having me. And thank you for also pronouncing my name very, very correctly. I have to commend you. You're welcome. I'm always available. You have been a very good partner in engaging with us, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Thank you.
Whenever I'm free and I receive a call, I'll be here.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. We are honored. All right, everyone. This is the size of the conversation for you today. Time is not on our side, but then it's been a very fruitful conversation. If you want to travel out of the country, please check whatever appointment you have outside the country with the Foreign Affairs before you go, so you don't fall into wrong hands. I took that with my full chest from this conversation today, and it's applicable to everyone. My name is Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Many thanks for being part of Global Morning today.
And I am Jumai Manson, and thank you once again to our guest, Kemebi Ibiefa, for being a part of the program. Have an amazing day ahead.